Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So before I start, this video is in Spanish, and so I'm not going to read the whole entire article. Or I'm going to do my best to read as much as that I can, but it is in Spanish, and so my Spanish is not that great. So let me say that again, it's not that great. So probably the way that I pronounce the words may not come out right to fluent Spanish speakers, and for that, I'm sorry. But I'm doing the best that I can because I speak primarily English most of the time, so that has a lot to do with it as well. But when I see words in Spanish, when I see words, I see it as English. I understand it better than I can verbalize it. And so if for those of you that are Spanish speakers probably know where I'm coming from when I say that, because you speak fluently, and if you speak something constantly, it's easier to form the words and to verbalize rather than to try to speak, like if you're trying to speak English and the words don't come out, the way they should, or they don't sound the way they should, is because you don't normally speak the English. And so it's vice versa for me. Although you may understand the English and you see it and you understand it, but saying it is a whole nother ball game. So for me, it's the switch. Spanish, I can see it, I can hear it and understand, but saying it is a whole nother ball game for me. So, and the reason being, I have now, before anybody does any exposing of me, they shouldn't, because I have nothing to hide. I'll just tell you that. I'm a Black woman, that's for real. The other thing is that most of the issues I talk about are about politics. Some of them are different, and some of them are about current events, and it could be a number of things. So I don't just stick to always one topic, but I do concern myself with people of color because happen to be a person of color. But I am pretty open-minded. At least I try to be. I'm not perfect. I don't proclaim to be. I do my best. And so I just think that I thought this article was pretty good at reiterating the ignorance that's out there. It's prevalent that people don't understand that there are people that are in Mexico, there are many regions in Mexico where people are unaware of. There are Black people who are present there. It's just not recognized. And so I'm going to go ahead without further ado and try to obliterate this article. So bear with me. And so for those of you, pretty much bear with me and be, how would you say, kind, because I'm doing my best. But you see this mural pictured here? Unisur qua Hinnukulipia, okay? Qua Hinkulipia. Okay, so this is a part of a region that is located in Mexico. Okay, Pedacitos de África, la Costa Chica de Guerrero. A todos aquellos que involuntariamente fueron traídos de África a América y se quedaron para nunca volver. América Nicte Anite Ha, el pasado para entender el presente. Okay. La entidad mexicana se configuró después de la independencia de España durante la construcción del Estado-nación como mestiza. And mestiza is the word for mixture of cultures and different people, different backgrounds, and also indigenous people. So es decir, el mexicano es el producto de la mezcla, a mix of Spanish, Espanol con el indigenia, or indigenous. Recuerdan los textos de historia en los que nos repetían hasta el consensus. I almost said sucio, so I'm thinking it in my head because I'm thinking of something that sucios in Spanish is like something dirty. Okay, cansancio, que el mexicano es mestizo. So mestizo is a mix of people. Okay, so it's posing a question. ¿Recuerdan a la patria? Esa mujer morena, clara, es decir, mestizas, enfundada en una túnica blanca, algunas veces representada sostenido un libro en una mano, mientras en la otra sostenía una bandera mexicana y otras veces era acompañada de un niño mestizo, por supuesto, también sostenido una bandera. Pues bien, los constructos de la nación o de la entidad mexicana, los grandes pensadores liberales y pacifistas como José Vasconcelos o Carlos María de Bustamante, influenciados por la corriente libro homogeneidad sin tomar en cuenta diferencias culturales y igualdad. Y el racismo, which is racism, científico de inicios del siglo XX, adoptaron o lo europeo or Europe como sinónimo de superioridad, desarrollo y progreso. Olvidaron, negaron y rechazaron a lo africano y lo asiático, pues significaba violencia, inferioridad, atrocios, ignorancia y utilización a lo indígena or indigenous para tener una de del país hispánico. El resultado fue una nación compleja y contradictoria, pues las raíces culturales neurológicas en nuestras configuración inmensamente ricas, usos, costumbre y tradiciones con una gran sabiduría y dueños reales son en la práctica utilizadas para rechazar, denigrar y negar. Quien no indio para insultar a una persona o como sinónimo de inferioridad, atraso, ignorancia o valencia, mientras que por otro lado hacemos el mayor esfuerzo por dejar en alto nuestros vínculos y herencia europea. Okay, so which is Europe. And so they basically are talking about So there's a lot of ignorance out there. There's a lot of things that have happened in the culture and their history that points back to a lot of racism. And so you see the mural here. You see the paintings. And so Kwahennekulapia, okay, Kwahennekulapia and Costa Chica and Oaxaca are regions in Mexico where Black people exist or reside. And so I feel like there's a lot of ignorance even here in the US with people. They think that people just come from one area or one city or centralized in one region of the globe, and there's only 13% of the population, where there's a lot more of us, a lot more people of color than you know. And so you see they have this beautiful mural here. And so it's pretty much telling you that there's a history of African culture that has been placed here in these countries. And so I just think that's why I put Inglecio in the back, or not Inglesia as in church, but Inglecio for English. Se habla poquito español, aprender español. Some of the Spanish that I know is a little in terms of verbalizing it, but in terms of knowing it is a lot more. Más grande se interpreting is in my head is a lot more. Knowing a lot more by seeing it, and for me, I'm looking at it as like English and so saying it is a two-way, a different situation. It's a whole lot different for me. But anyway, I wanted to pan down here to this picture of these women, or these young ladies, because they are of African descent. And so with the ignorance that's prevalent out there, a lot of people don't realize that these people do exist. And so there's been a lot of talk that, oh, there's no Black people in Mexico. Well, if you're going to one part or one region of Mexico, you might not see any African or people that look of African descent, but they do exist. However, they have been met with a lot of racism. There has been a lot of discrimination. There's been historical discrimination. And so they pretty much have verbalized that in Spanish in this article. And so that is why they hold fast to their culture. They said there's a lot of racial mixture that involves sometimes the indigenous and African culture and even Asian culture as well. And so they've been met with a lot of stereotyping, and so they carry traditions. Así pues, el mexicano por medio quiere ser blanco de raíz y herencia europea, a pesar de que la Nueva España y después el México independiente también fueron levantados, construidos y moldeados con capital humano, dinámicas sociales y elementos culturales africanos, okay, culturally African. And they've been met with a lot of issues. So they actually had slaves that were placed in these countries. El legado africano está impregnado en nuestra gastronomía, en nuestra tradición, en nuestra music, and nuestra bailes. There's a lot of new traditions and musics and dances and nuestra danzas and nuestro cantos and singing and nuestro color de piel, incluso, and they're inclusive of the different cultures and people and the language, lenguaje, y en los modismos que utilizamos. Okay, so they utilize all of this in the culture and stuff. So, so much ignorance here in the US, according to what I've heard lately. And so we just need to be open minded about other people, that, we don't just all come from one region of the globe. So you need to open your mind. And so you see, this is a beautiful mural that pretty much paints to this culture. And so I just thought I would bring this up. So until another video of next time, I just feel like people need to learn more about other people. I think that's what breeds a lot of ignorance. And so these people have been through a lot as well. And so they are a part of the Black culture, believe it or not. They're just in it centralized, born in a different region. Los descendientes de africanos están todo México. Sin embargo, hay cuatro estados en los que sobresalen por sus rasgos phenotypical, herencia culture. Okay, Oaxaca, these are the countries that they're pretty much centralized in. Oaxaca, La Costa Chica, Guerrero, La Costa Chica, y en menos porcentaje la Costa Grande y Acapulco, Veracruz y Coahuila. Así pues, estas líneas van dedicadas a resaltar la gran riqueza de elementos culturales africanos de la que somos herederos los mexicanos, tomando el queso específico de la región de la Costa Chica de Guerrero. Okay. También quiero completar el proceso de reconocimiento, asimilación y apropiación identitaria, our identity, que experimente respecto a mi descendencia africana, or descendants of Africa, pues puede ser guía o un punto de apoyo para otros mexicanos y guerrerenses que en estos momentos están posando o que en un futuro probablemente pasarán por el mismo proceso. Okay, so there's been a lot of problems that they've had in their culture, but in terms of being accepted. And so that these are the regions that they come from, but they still hold fast to the culture despite all of the obstacles that they have faced in this culture. And so this is what the style of dress, the style of dance, the style of music, they even have evolved. They have new traditions, new music, new dances, and new new singing language, and that has evolved with this culture. And so I think people need to widen their horizon in terms of cultures. I guess this is my niche or whatever. So when I see stuff, sometimes I see it in English. And for that, I guess it's because I have an open mind. But two, I do have an uncle that was from Cuba. So before you start saying anything about that, let me pan over to Cuban people so that you know, yes, I still consider myself a Black person, but I I do have people that whom I know um, that are from Latin countries. I live around people that are from Latin countries, speak Spanish, heavy Spanish speakers. And then I have an uncle that he was born and raised in Cuba. So there are Black people in Cuba. So before you start calling out stuff about people who are in Cuba, saying that there's no Black Cubans, there are, because that's mostly what's primarily over there, really, to be honest. It's just that a lot of the face of these people are not given credibility, because you always see the lighter skin or the whiter versions of Cuban people, but there are black people in Cuba, plenty of them. So you're always seeing lighter people, but you never see people that look like people of color necessarily. You always see people like him, famous leaders and stuff like that. Well, Obama's he's not from Cuba, he's from Hawaii, but somehow his picture's in here. But I guess maybe they were making a comparison or whatnot because his mother is white and his father is from Africa and Kenya. So you see Castro, and you see how they talk about the issues that happened recently with Castro and how the people are. And you usually see people that look like this, but yes, we do have plenty of black people in Cuba that are Cuban, and they are black, okay? And in Puerto Rico, the same way. A lot of these countries in Latin, the Latin Americas are black people. It's just that, some of the same issues that have happened here in the States happen in the Latin countries too. And so, and in everywhere, really, to be even in the UK, there's a history in the UK where there's been discriminations. There's a whole history behind that. And so I just think people don't really, get out much, or they don't really expand their horizons as much. Um, so I just think that you need to give face to who we are as a whole, not just in one little area. Now, I will say this, for the most part, I'm not on board with people who are about discriminating people of color, because I happen to be one as well. But it's just not right. It's not fair. I don't believe that there's any reason for it but just blatant racism. And so I do have videos that reflect some of my disgruntledness behind that, and some of the more recent things that have happened. I've actually been a victim of a lot of those things, even in the workplace, believe it or not. It's just that people know how to say things, they know how to hide, they know how to pretend and play a game, and then they can get you, destroy your life basically, or make you feel like you're stupid, or you're not, you're not important, or you don't have any self-worth, that you're just really here to do their bidding, clean up behind them. And so if you talk too much about racism and about the atrocities that happen, you're, threatened to be silenced or fired or your life ruined. So I do talk about those issues, but I just wanted to make light of these people, because I feel like some people think that Mexico is just about the lighter skin. Some of the problems that they have in Mexico are the very same problems we have here in the States, believe it or not. So with that being said, I'm going to let this video go. If my Spanish, once again, I have to apologize if it was a terrible. Más Musica Menos Balas. If it, more music, less balas. Okay, I'm thinking baile, like dancing. And so more music, less dancing, I believe. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. And sometimes I look up stuff in Spanish, but I do have like an uncle that is from Cuba. He stayed with, as a child, he stayed with us for a number of months. So I picked up some of the Spanish, I believe. Maybe I remember or recall it from him. But other than that, yeah, I am black. I'm a black woman. So I just think that it's a lot of ignorance. People need to expand their horizons. But anyway, with that being said, there are some other issues that I wanted to tackle before I quit doing the videos. But see this mural here? I mean, this tells you, Unisar Kwahen ni Kulipia, okay? Kwahen ni Hulipi. See, I even get tongue tied. Kwahen ni Kulipia, okay? And so I might even actually, I'm not afraid of doing this. Okay, so I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but there's a pronunciation thing where you can get the language. But see here, you can see that these people here in this country, a lot of them are black. And so I'm pulling it up. It's in Mexico, okay? It says municipally, it has the state's largest population of African Mexicans. Most of the population of this ethnicity is black. And so that's why I pull this up because people are under the impression that there is no black in Mexico. Yeah, in certain regions there might not be, but there's a smaller regions that there are, and so they're not given a lot of platform. And so the area is 271.1 miles. Um, and it talks about getting there, the weather, the population is about 25. Um, 1,922. That was back in 2005. Okay, so their area code is 741. And so it talks about the continent here and where it is centralized. Let me see here. I'm just kind of like looking here. Okay, so here's the word municipio. Okay, so Juan Juan Ni Kulapia. Kwane. It's a long, long name, like Mississippi, Mississippi, Mississippi. I couldn't say that because I would get tongue tied. But Kwan Ni Nikulapia. Okay, so it's like the name is it's unusual. Huh? But anyway, these are the people of this region. You're gonna see lighter. You're gonna see a lot of. You can tell they're African of African descent. There's a mixture there, and so these are the people of this country. And so and you see the style of dress, the dances. Okay, so this must be all of Mexico right here. So see all the different regions, just like America. If you pull up the US, there's different cities, different towns, different states, different regions of America that are in the US. And also this is the Latin America, and they have their different regions, different cities, different towns, different countries. And so if you travel to one area where you only see people that look white, then yeah, you're going to think, oh, everybody here in Mexico is white. And yes, there is a racism. It is prevalent, and they talk about that. And that's the reason why they have that article, because they hold fast to their culture as well. They aren't given a lot of recognition. And so, too, these are the people that I live around, people that look like this, and they're black, and they admit that they're black, and they're Black Mexican. They consider themselves Afro-Mexican, and so these are musicians. They play during a traditional Afro-Mexican dance, and it's called the Devils in Juan Kulipia or Kulapia community. Okay, so I believe I had pulled that up earlier when I was doing this, and so I think it's here. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go over it. No, this is showing more of the country, but actually, it's really interesting. Some of the traditions and things like this, but this is part of that cultural dance, I guess. So I always do this because I think it's interesting. Well, at least to me it is. Maybe other people find it boring, but these are the people here. And so I believe there are other pictures here. That picture that I was showing you, actually, there's dancers down here. Okay, so this is Danza de dos Diablos. Okay, and so this has to do with that dance, the dance, that devil's dance. And so it's here. I was looking at it. Yeah, that's the end of it right here. But there was a picture that I had, and the people were dancing, and they had on these costumes. They were beautiful. But anyway, I don't know if I could ever go back to it. I think actually it might have been in this article that I had earlier. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, bear with me. It was in this article, I talked about it earlier, and that's where this picture came from. So it talks about this in English, and it talks about the recognition. So this is this dance right here. It's called the Dance of the Devils, the Danza Diablos, de Diablos, and this is here, Mexico Negros, or Black Mexicans that are doing this dance, and it's a cultural dance that is part of that culture. And so I thought it was interesting to bring this out because there's some people are apparently under the impression that there are no Black Mexicans. Yes, there are. And so I'm bringing face to these people. So, and there's a lot of people who are mixed, mezcla, or mezcla racismo, um, are mezcla razos, um, raza, that are of mixed race, Indio or Chino or Chinese. They could be from different backgrounds and part of, the even in the indigenous culture, they could be mixed with that culture as well. Well, most people are. All of us are really, to be honest. All of us are have indigenous in us. We wouldn't be here without the people that were here first. So anyway, I just thought that it's just sad that people can't get along. They don't understand who they are. They think we're just centralized. We only have one view. There's a one-minded or one-track-minded thinking. So I'm gonna let this video go. But anyway, if you want to look it up, here it is right here. And you see the beautiful murals, the dances, the clothes, the food, and everything. And I kind of get into that. That's another side thing of mine that I, get into. But anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna let this video go until next time. Just have an open mind, open heart, and you begin to, learn more about other things that do include you, that are inclusive, inclusivos. Of who you are as a person. But anyway, with that being said, thanks for listening. And sorry if the Spanish was crazy. It sounded crazy to those who don't understand it. But I tried to break some of it down in English. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to let this video go. Thank you.